Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Shelly, and I'm excited to lead today's online session, which is all about increasing student engagement and thinking in the classroom, part one. This training is designed to help you implement high engagement, collaborative strategies in your physical classrooms. I'll model the strategies and explain how you can adapt them based on your grade level and content area. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at today's agenda. We'll start by talking about why student engagement and critical thinking are so important in the classroom. After that, we'll jump into the main part of our session, which is where I will walk you through some of the collaborative strategies you can use to boost engagement and thinking in your lessons. Engagement isn't just about making lessons fun, it's about making learning stick. In fact, there are studies that show that using collaborative strategies actually boosts students' higher order thinking skills and it helps them with retaining information more effectively. That retention translates into higher scores on both formative and summative assessments. Let's begin by looking at questioning. Why is it so important to be intentional with the questions we ask? Well, effective questioning gives us a chance to check for understanding, promote critical thinking, and keep students actively engaged in the learning process. It also helps spark class discussions and it encourages problem solving. Open ended questions, especially the kind that start with why, how, or what if, give students space to explain their thinking, make connections, and reflect on what they've learned. So you're probably wondering, when should we use questioning? The answer is before, during, and after the lessons. Use it to activate prior knowledge, guide discussions as your students are learning, and to prompt reflection once the lesson wraps up. So let's get into our first activity that will help you with boosting collaborative learning in your classroom. This strategy is called Tick-Tock-Share, and it's one of my favorites. This is a quick and easy peer sharing strategy that works great as a lesson opener, closer, review activity, or even a brain break. I like to start by handing out a printed copy of the Tick-Tock-Share template, just like the one you see here on this slide. Here's how it works. You pose a question to the class. For example, I used, "What's your favorite movie?" Students get a moment to think, then write their name and their answer in the 12 o'clock slot on their paper. Then, either you or a student sets a timer for 1 minute. During that minute, students move around the room, find a partner, and share their responses. They'll record their partner's name and answer in the 3 o'clock slot. When the timer goes off, they switch and find a new partner. This time, they record their new partner's name and answer in the 6 o'clock slot. After a third round, they do the same thing in the 9 o'clock slot. Once all 4 slots are filled, students return to their seats. At that point, you can call on volunteers to share something interesting they learned from one of their partners. This helps build students' confidence and encourages participation in a low stakes, fun way. Now, if you want to elevate the critical thinking piece, you can follow up with questions like, do you agree with any of your partner's answers? Why or why not? Or which of your partners do you most agree with and what makes you feel that way? Give students some think time before having them respond. These follow up questions push them to reflect more deeply, consider different perspectives, and explain their reasoning, while still keeping the activity student centered and collaborative. For today's training, I used a general question, but in your classroom, you can tailor the prompt or question to fit whatever topic or unit you're teaching. Something that I often notice when I observe lessons is that a teacher will pose a question to the whole class and immediately the same few students raise their hands. The teacher calls on one of them right away without giving the rest of the class time to really think. That's where wait time becomes so powerful. Giving students even just a little time to process the question before responding can make a big difference. It gives all students a chance to think more deeply and craft a meaningful response, not just the quick thinkers or the confident few. It also increases engagement because when students know they'll be expected to think and possibly respond, they tune in more carefully. Here's how you can use it effectively. After you pose a question, wait about 30 to 60 seconds before calling on any students. That gives students, especially English language learners or more introverted students, time to organize their thoughts. How much time you give really depends on your class. You might start with 60 seconds and notice most students are ready sooner. So you scale back to 30 or 45 seconds. Or if your class includes more ELLs or students who need extra processing time, you may want to stick closer to that full minute. Just pay attention to your students and adjust as needed. Something that can help is using a visual countdown or a silent signal, like putting your hand on your head or holding up fingers to indicate thinking time without having to say it out loud. Now, let's talk about another fun and interactive collaborative strategy called Quiz Trade. So, what is it? Quiz Trade is a peer to peer activity where students quiz each other using question cards, trade cards after each round, and then find a new partner to repeat the process. It's highly active, student centered, and keeps everyone engaged in your class, especially those who benefit from movement and social learning. So, why should you use it? This strategy boosts student engagement, reinforces content knowledge, and promotes speaking, listening, and thinking skills. It's especially effective to review vocabulary practice, test prep, or reinforcing new concepts. It also gets students talking and collaborating without relying on the teacher to lead the whole time. So, when can you use it? Well, Quiz Trade works well at the end of a lesson, at the start of a lesson to activate prior knowledge, in the middle of a lesson to check for understanding, or anytime you want to break up the routine and just get your students moving. Here's how to implement it in your classroom. First, prep the cards. Before class, create question and answer cards, one per student. You can use terms, definitions, review questions, math problems, whatever fits your content. Step 2, give each student a card. Each student should keep their card hidden with the answer on the back. Step 3, have the students find a partner. Students will need to pair up and decide who quizzes who first, or as a teacher, you can decide who will go first. Step 4, the students ask their question, listen to the answer, then gives feedback or supports their partner if needed. Then they switch roles. Step 5, then they trade. So after both students have quizzed each other, they swap cards. Then step 6, the students find a new partner. So students will need to walk around and repeat the process with someone new. Step 7, after a few rounds, you can end the activity and bring everyone back together to debrief, review common misconceptions, or highlight strong examples. So we're near the end, but let me just share a few last minute tips. So when you're using these collaborative strategies, try to follow up with why or how. Okay, so let students cite evidence or give real world examples to back up their answers or responses. The next tip is to clarify expectations before group work. So just make sure to go over the rules with your students and model what it should look like when they are doing these collaborative strategies. Next tip is to always include wait time before collaboration, especially when you're asking the whole class a question. Give everyone an equal amount of wait time to think about their own response before starting to call on individuals. And lastly, think about how you want your students to interact so you can choose the correct collaborative strategy to use with your class. Well, thank you all so much for joining today. If you have any questions regarding any of the strategies that I have gone over today, please feel free to DM me and we can set up a time to talk. Thank you and see you guys in the next video.